If you ever wanted to learn how to ride a motorcycle, well, first off, here's your sign. If this video magically found you, this means it's time to learn how to ride. And lucky for you, I know a guy. So in this series, this will be called How to Ride a Motorcycle. It's going to be no BS, quick and easy to the point. No bluff, nothing. And this is strictly riding the motorcycle and nothing else. I'm not going over the basics like you need gear, you need this, you need that. No, because those are already implied. Before we go over this, we have to go over some of the implied details. So one, you need to have motorcycle gear from head to toe. Full face helmet, gloves, preferably full boots, short boots is okay, pants, jacket or shirt. It would also be nice if your gear is at least AA rated, preferably AAA, and your pads on your gear are at least CE level 1, but preferably CE level 2. AAA is maximum protection for abrasion, and CE level 2 is maximum protection for impact. Long boots are great, short boots are okay. Any motorcycle pants are okay, but preferably leather if you want to be really safe. Your regular jeans will not do. And some sort of motorcycle jacket. For about the next 2 to 3 weeks, I will be uploading daily videos on how to ride a motorcycle. This entire series will be in this playlist right here called How to Ride a Motorcycle. Hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you guys think. And for all the veterans out there, leave tips for the beginners that you wish someone taught you. So by the end of this series, you will be able to master riding a motorcycle from zero to hero. Let's do this. So in this video, we'll talk about the left and right sides of the motorcycle and their components. All motorcycles will have these components, but where they are placed may be different depending on the class. So for example, the rear brake for a sports bike is right here, versus on a cruiser, it's in the front, like this. It doesn't matter of the bike class though, all motorcycles will have these components. On the right side, this lever right here is the rear brake. As you can imagine, this controls the rear brake. Here is where your right foot will go and rest. Now while you are riding, you do not want to be hovering over this brake, you want to be on here. So the bottom of your toes will be right here while you're riding, not right here. Here is the foot guard. So this is where the heel and the side of your boot will rest while you're riding. This just protects you from hitting the components and wires of the motorcycle. Now on this motorcycle, the exhaust is on the right side here. This is a slip-on exhaust. This is an added modification that I did. Right here is the passenger peg where the passenger will rest their foot. This lever right here is the front brake. As you can imagine, the more you pull it in, the more it stops the front wheel. This piece is a frame slider, more specifically an engine slider. This is a modification that I did, and this protects the engine in case I do tip this bike. As the name implies, if I fall, it'll keep the bike sliding. Moving on to the left side of the motorcycle, this lever right here is for the clutch. When you pull it in, it completely disengages the clutch, and you are able to shift up and down. And there's also no power added to the back wheel. While this is pulled in, there is no power going to the bike at all. So you can be going down the road, and then as soon as you pull this in, it gets quiet. All power is gone, so you're just coasting. This is a frame slider, just like the other side. This is just the left side. Just a reminder, this was an added modification that I did. Most bikes will not have this stock. Down here is the kickstand. This retracts and retracts, so you can essentially park the bike. Typically, these are on the left sides of the motorcycle, but it varies. The concept is still the same regardless of where it's at. This lever right here is your clutch lever. This allows you to shift gears. In order to use this, the clutch must be fully pulled in, and then you can shift up or down. Certain motorcycles have quick shifters to where you do not need to pull in the clutch, but if you're just starting out, we'll just ignore that completely. You need to pull the clutch in to be able to shift up or down. This is where the left foot goes, and just like the right side, you want the toes to be resting on here while you're riding. You do not want your toes to be resting above the brake. You only want to hover over the brake and the clutch lever whenever you're expecting to shift or brake. Besides that, stay in this position right here. And just like the right side, this is where the passenger will put their left foot at. This is important because you must know what each side of the motorcycle has and does. There will be slight variations between motorcycles, but the general concepts are identical. In this video, we're going to talk about the cockpit of the motorcycle and what everything does. Just a quick disclaimer, every motorcycle cockpit will be a little bit different, but there are key components that every single motorcycle will have, and that's what we will go over here. My motorcycle has a lot of tech, but we're only going to go over the ones that every motorcycle has. I will ignore every other button. So starting with the left side, this bar does absolutely nothing. You can't twist it or nothing. This is just where you rest your left hand. This lever right here, I said before, is the clutch lever. We pull it to disengage power from the engine and to be able to shift gears. Once you have shifted, you can let go, but we'll go more into that later. These are your low and high beams. This is your turn signals. So unlike a car where it automatically turns off, we have to manually do it. So as you can imagine, if you want to turn right, you push it to the right. The motorcycle will keep blinking until you press it directly in the middle. And same thing for the left. Underneath that, there is the horn button, and next to that is the hazard lights. So as you can imagine, you flick it, hazards come on, then flick it back to turn them back off. In the middle right here in the front, we have the dash. So on my bike specifically, it has the RPM, the gas, and the speed. Not all motorcycles will have the gas and the RPM gauge, but every motorcycle will have a speed indicator, whether it be digital or analog. In the middle right here is your ignition key. This is where you put in your keys to start the bike, and you can also turn it to the left to lock it. This gives electricity to the motorcycle. On the right side here, we have the throttle. Unlike the left bar, this one can actually twist. And the more you twist it, the more power your bike gets. Now, important note, this only gives power to the rear wheel. The front wheel never has power. This is strictly the rear wheel. This lever right here is your front brake. This is your kill switch and ignite switch. Most motorcycles are red, so it'll look like this, but mine is just gray. This will actually ignite the engine. So here we're talking about mounting and dismounting from a motorcycle. So to start, the kickstand is usually on the left side of the motorcycle, which is why it's leaned to the left. So when you get on a motorcycle, your first step is to grab the right throttle and brake. And from here, you're going to swing your right leg over and then just put your left hand on here. So it's going to look like this. Now you notice that the bike is still leaned to the side. And from here, keep both feet down and keep the kickstand down. I want you just to rock the bike in the up position like you're riding. So notice the kickstand is still down and both of my feet are on the ground. Now from here, I want you to get a feel of the bike. I want you to go back and forth if you can. I want you to go side to side a little bit, but not too crazy. And just get a feel of the bike. This is very, very important. And this can change depending on what type of bike you have. If you have a cruiser, you're going to be more relaxed. If you have a sports bike like this, you're going to be tucked in a little bit more. Just mess around with the handlebars, rock left and right, and get a good feel of the bike. And while you're going from side to side, remember, keep the kickstand down. I want you just to balance on each foot. So left leg up and inverse. And just keep doing that. Get a good feel of the bike. Now, don't go too crazy. Don't have a crazy angle. Just do a couple quick tries like this. Because later on, when you're turning and going through curves, this is crucial. Because if you don't know how to lean, you're going to fall. Now, to dismount, it's the exact same thing, just in reverse. So pull in the right brake and just have your hand on this right bar. Then make sure your kickstand is down. Left hand on this handlebar. Lean the bike. This may feel really uncomfortable. And then, boom. So now, if you let go, you notice the bike is still standing, which is good. And from here, it's just the inverse. So right leg up and right arm, just like this. And then you can let go. This exercise is important because it gives you a good feel of how the bike is and how it handles. And especially as you switch to different motorcycles, you'll notice that each one is a little bit different. Now, I also want you to do this exercise still with the kickstand down. I want you to pull in the clutch and then just rock back and forth. You shouldn't have to be able to touch the brake here. This is just to get a feel of the bike. Get a good feel for it. So as the clutch is pulled in, you can rock the bike around, go up a little bit, take a couple steps forward, and then walk it back. And just keep doing this alongside with tilting left and right, and you'll start to get a really good feel of the bike. Now, it'll feel heavy, but that's because we're not moving. When you're actually riding, this problem will go away completely. Now, with the same principle of this exercise, I want you to go back and forth, but stopping using the brakes instead of your feet. So we're going to do the same thing again. Clutch in, have your right hand on this handle, but do not use the brake yet. Then take a couple steps forward, and then slowly close that right brake. And notice how you'll jerk forward, because this controls the front brake. And do the same thing in reverse. Go backwards and brake. And just keep doing that to get a feel of the front brake, because everybody's front brake will have a different sensitivity to it. And then do the same thing with the rear brake. And go forward and brake. Then go back and brake. You almost never want to use just the front or the rear brake. But for this exercise, it's just for you to get a feel of the motorcycle brakes. As we're moving and proceeding with the other exercises, you will use both brakes just about every time. In this video, we're going to talk about the ignition key and the kill switch and how to start the bike. So for the basics, the key slot has 3 settings. It has the off, it has on, and it has lock. Off, as you can imagine, when you put in the key, nothing happens because it's still off. When you flip the key to on, power is now activated to the bike. So when I turn the key, the dash will come on. All right, and if I turn it back off, no power. This gives power to the bike. To lock the bike, simply you're gonna turn your wheels all the way to the left and you're gonna lean the bike on its kickstand. Then you're gonna push the key in and turn it to the left. And you notice this will lock the handlebars, so I can't move it. This in theory prevents theft because your handlebars are locked to this position. And to free it, you just push the key to the off. And now you're good. Now on the right side, there are 2 switches with 3 icons. This is the kill switch, this red button, and this is the ignite switch. When the kill switch is set to on, the bike can be ignited. And as you can imagine, if it's set to off, it will never be able to turn on. Technically, this is the emergency kill switch, so this is more so used for emergencies. But in the MSF course, they tell you to use it anyway when you turn off the bike. Now to turn on the bike, the kill switch has to be set to on, and the bike has to have power. Now, if you are in gear like we are here, you have to do 2 things in order to start the motorcycle. Number 1, make sure the kickstand is up. That is a safety feature. The bike will not start unless the kickstand is up. And the second feature, the clutch has to be pulled in. While we're in gear, power's on, switch is on, clutch pulled in, kickstand is up. We can now hold this button until the bike ignites. And to kill it, we hit this button. Now, if you are in neutral, the kickstand can be down and you do not have to pull in the clutch. It is good habit to always pull in the clutch just in case it gives a false reading because you'd rather be safe than sorry. So while in neutral, I can technically just hit the ignite switch and I'm good. So in neutral, switch is on, key is on, I can literally just hit the ignite switch. But it is always good habit to pull in the clutch and then start the bike. So make sure this is on, power's onto the bike, hold the ignite button. Now remember, the bike has to have power and the engine has to be set to on. So with power and engine set to off, the bike will never start. And with the engine set to on and the power set to off, the bike will also never start.
In this video, we are talking about the throttle. We will also be talking about the locking point because that is critical to know when the bike actually starts getting gas.
If you notice here, the throttle has a lot of slack here. Now it may not look like a lot, but look at it when I put my full hand. It changes your perspective. This can be a big problem because people are often looking for where the gas actually starts, and once they find it, they're not expecting it, and then they just take off and whiskey throttle. I can't express how important this lesson is. I want you to practice with your motorcycle, finding that, I call this the locking point, the point where it's right about to start giving gas. You'll feel it tightening and get tight, and you know anything after that point will give it gas. This is where you want to be whenever you're about to give gas to a motorcycle. You do not want to be all the way up here and then slowly pull. You want to be at that locking point already, which is right here, because I know anything after this point will make the bike move. And here's a real example with the engine. Notice how the bike was not getting power until after that locking point. It is really critical for you guys to learn where your locking point is on your motorcycle. And I know someone will ask, can this be adjusted? And the answer is yes, but it's still important to know this. This is probably the most important lesson you'll have on here. This is called feathering the clutch. Feathering the clutch is the point in the clutch where it's not all the way out, but it's not all the way in. You are in the middle point. So here, the bike starts to move on its own without any gas. But if you let it go too quickly, you'll stall. This is extremely important because it teaches low-speed maneuvering and it also helps you to avoid stalling in the future. This exercise will help you master feathering the clutch. So if you're in gear, just go ahead and turn on the bike. Remember, do not let go of this because you will stall. And if you're in neutral, just go ahead, pull in the clutch, kick down to first gear. You may have to move a foot or two in order for it to actually grab on. So now it says first gear. Now this is important because this is the point where right now we have no power. The clutch is completely disengaged. And if I let it go, I'll instantly stall. Remember, we are not adding throttle here. We're going to cover the brake just for this exercise, but we will not add any throttle. So slowly let out the clutch. Every bike is different, but there will be a point where the bike slowly starts moving. So right now I can feel it moving forward. So if I let it a little bit more out, the bike will start moving and I am walking the bike now. And you want to keep the clutch at that exact spot. Do not move it forward. Do not pull it back. And then notice my feet are not touching the ground anymore. They're just hovering above it. So now you can pull in the clutch and brake. I need you to do this exercise 100 times. So same thing again. Slowly let out the clutch. We are starting to move. I can feel it. I'm keeping it in that position. I'm not moving it. I'm walking it. I let it out a little bit more. I'm still holding that exact same position. It is not moving. And now I am riding. And same thing here, pull in the clutch and brake. This exercise is important because it gives you low speed maneuvering and it helps you severely avoid stalling. All right, so let's actually get to the fun part. Let's start moving. In this exercise, we're going to combine all previous exercises together, and now we're going to apply that to a moving motorcycle. Here, we are specifically learning on how not to stall. So let's go. So when you stall, the bike doesn't have enough power to keep it moving, so it just dies. Typically happens when you let out the clutch too fast, or you just don't give it enough throttle while the clutch is halfway in. So it looks like this. Very jerky, and that is okay. Just make sure you catch yourself. And this exercise prevents us from doing that. So once again, if I let go of the clutch really fast, the bike just dies, and that is okay. And if you are in gear, like I am here, all you want to do, pull in the clutch, start the bike again. Now, if this scares you or you're uneasy, it's okay, walk away, take a break. The exercise is pretty simple. Honestly, you don't even need this hand for this, so you can just place this on a tank. With both of your feet on the ground, you're going to slightly let go of the clutch. Notice how it's slowly letting out, and the bike will start moving on its own. And from here, just walk it. And then if you feel like you're going too fast, pull it in, and notice it'll stop. Same thing. Let it out slowly and let the bike do the work. Pull it in. Hands not even on the throttle or the brake. I'm just walking the bike. That's all we're doing. So, same thing again. Slowly let it out. Once you feel it moving, keep it there. Pull it in. Boom. And then I want you to do that over and over and over again until you absolutely hate this exercise. I'm talking at least 100 times. As you let the clutch out, you will feel the bike start moving. Once it gets to a point where you are walking the bike, keep the clutch in that position. Do not let it go any further out. Now, we're going to do this same exercise again, except now we're going to use brakes. To start, we're going to use only the front brake, so Let the clutch out slowly. The bike's moving, so now I can hold my hand like this with 2 fingers, and I can basically walk the bike, pull in the clutch, and slowly pull in the brake. Just like that. And we're going to do the exact same thing. You can walk it back, or if you have a large enough perimeter, you can just circle it around. Now make sure you do not give throttle here. Do not give throttle. If you have to, twist your arm upwards so that way you can't give any throttle. Because if you twist down, it's going to be a bad day. So slowly let out. The bike is starting to move. Keep the clutch there. Fingers over the brakes. And then pull in the clutch and brake slowly. Now doing the exact same exercise except with the rear brake. Hand like this. Slowly let out the clutch. We are moving. So now foot up, clutch in, and stop with the rear brake. And just keep doing that over and over. And then after about 20 times of doing the front and then 20 times of doing the rear, you want to combine. So now you want to use both brakes at the same time. So right hand here, left hand on the clutch. We are fully pulled in. Now slowly let out. Bike is moving. So now I'm hovering. And then clutch in, both brakes. And also do that 50 times. It is critical that you understand that you need to use both brakes at the same time, just about every time. That'll give you maximum stopping power. Now that you know what feathering the clutch is, you want to use this skill to be able to do low-speed U-turns. So this exercise is pretty simple. Literally, you're just going to feather out the clutch and just do a U-turn. You are going to walk the bike. You're going to keep your feet on the ground. You will not be lifting your feet up during this exercise. And that is it. You will just keep doing U-turns over and over and over again. This exercise is great because it builds confidence in not only low-speed maneuvering, but feathering the clutch. And most importantly, being in that friction zone. This lane right here is pretty good for a U-turn. Go slow. Start by just walking the bike. So slowly let out the clutch. Now I can start walking to this edge. Clutch is still in the exact same spot. I am barely walking it. If you feel like it's going too fast, pull the clutch in more. I'm just walking this U-turn and feeling the clutch. If I need more power, I just slightly let it out more. And clutch is fully pulled in. And I want you to do this as many times as you can. And then in one of the next videos, we will be adding gas to this.
One important note that I really forgot to mention. You want to start really wide with your U-turns and then slowly shrink in. So for example, you'll start like this, something extremely wide, and then each iteration you want to bring that closer and closer and closer in. It'll slowly start becoming a really tight U-turn. This is a fantastic exercise because not only are you learning how to do U-turns, but you're learning how to do U-turns while feathering the clutch for really tight areas.
So now this exercise will combine the previous exercises, but now with throttle. Since you now know where the locking point is, it's time to actually apply gas to the motorcycle. At this point, you should be able to feather the clutch and use both brakes. So from here, we're going to do the exact same exercises. We're going to feather out the clutch, and then when we're at that middle point, we're going to start applying gas and then letting go of the clutch. Then from there, we're going to speed up a little bit, pull in the clutch completely, use both brakes to stop, and do that over and over. This will absolutely guarantee that you will never stall. So as I said before, now we're going to combine all the previous drills and now apply gas to this. So if you're in neutral, pull in the clutch, kick down, and just have both feet on the ground. For this exercise, it is okay to have your hand like this, where you have 2 fingers on the brake covering. When you're really riding, you really don't want to do this. This is just for this exercise. It is a bad habit in the long run. So slowly let out the clutch. We are now moving. My legs can go up, and I'm at the locking point, and I can start applying throttle. Notice how the clutch is out. Now pull the clutch in and brake. Now, one main goal here as well is once you start getting to a balancing speed, you want to let go of these 2 fingers on the brake. So it'll be like this. We are moving. I'm covering the brake. Adding throttle, clutch out, and notice how now my hand is not on the brake at all. It's fully on throttle. While you're at low speeds, it's okay to cover the brake like this, but once you start getting to a balancing point, it's really not okay. It's a really bad habit to have. So in first gear, slowly let out the clutch. The bike is moving. Keep it in that position. Now start adding a little bit of gas, and there we go. And then now here, clutch in, both brakes to stop. And you're going to keep doing this exercise over and over and over again. This will absolutely help you with stalling. Remember, before you give it gas, you already want to be at that lock point in the throttle. This exercise is great because you are now using the previous exercises and combining that with throttle. You're finding that locking point in the throttle and you are fully letting go of the clutch. And this is where you actually start saying, I can ride a motorcycle. The basics of shifting a motorcycle. This is the gear selection and the pattern of all motorcycles in this exact order. Starting from the bottom, you have first, then you have neutral, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Now, some motorcycles may not have a 6th gear or may not even have a 5th gear, but the principle and logic will be exactly the same. For example, the Honda Grom only has 4 gears, so it can only shift up to 4. There's no 5th or 6th, but the pattern is identical. So in order to shift with your left hand, you need to pull in the clutch lever all the way in, and then from here, we will kick all the way down to the bottom. And then you'll notice after a certain amount of kicks, or even after the first kick, the bike won't make any clicking noise or anything. It just seems like your left leg is bouncing up. That is how you know for sure you are in first gear. One thing to note, if you're standing still on your motorcycle and you're trying to shift gears and it won't shift, that's because you need to roll the bike either back or forward. As you can imagine, you lift your toes up to upshift and you kick down to downshift. Upshifting is to gain speed and downshifting is to lose speed. Don't make shifting more complicated than it needs to be. If you need to go faster, shift up. If you need to go slower or coming to a stop, shift down. Now, to get to neutral, you have to be in either first or second, and this is called a half click. If you're on first, you need to go a half click up. If you're on second, you can do a half click down. Now, what's the difference between a half click and a full click? If you're on first gear and you do a full kick up, you will end up in second. You will skip over the neutral. And if you're on second gear and you do a full click down, you will skip over the neutral. But with a half click, if you're in first gear and you half click up, you will be on neutral. And same thing for second gear. If you're in second gear and you half click down, you will be in neutral. This trips up a lot of people, and really the only way to master this is to just keep practicing it over and over and over. Now, knowing to shift gears will be extremely important. That'll be a thing called the Goldilocks zone, and it is critical for you to understand that, because the last thing you want to be doing is riding down the road and asking yourself, do I need to shift up, down, or stay where I'm at? And that'll be the next video. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about how do you know when to shift gears. And we're going to use this by a zone that I call the Goldilocks zone. And yes, to any other astronomy nerds, this is where that name comes from. After this video, you should be able to know when to downshift and when to upshift and when you are good. The Goldilocks zone is the zone in your motorcycle's RPM range that is most efficient for your motorcycle. This is the point where it's not struggling to give power, but it's also not pushing its limits. It's right there in the middle. The majority of motorcycles will have an RPM range. So it's usually from like 0 to 8,000, 0 to 10,000, 0 to 12,000, 0 to 16,000. You get the point. And that Goldilocks zone is directly in the middle. You can think of it as two sides. You have the left side and the right side, and anything in the middle is the Goldilocks zone. This range is where you want to stay in while you're riding. So for example, with my bike, it redlines at 16,000 RPM. So the Goldilocks zone would be between 6,000 and 10,000 because that is the middle zone. And anything below 6,000, I want to downshift. Anything above 10,000, I want to upshift. There will be slight variations, but you should understand the point of this. Don't make this more complicated than it needs to be. If you are below the left side of the Goldilocks zone, you need to shift down. If you are above the right side of the Goldilocks zone, you need to shift up. Your RPM meter needs to stay in that middle range. Now, some motorcycles don't have an RPM range at all. This is typically in cruisers, and a good portion of the time as well, it won't even have a gear indicator. So for this, you will have to look at the owner's manual and look at what speed you need to shift gears at. It'll be very specific as well. Typically, it'll also have a Goldilocks zone, but instead of RPM, it's for speed. Like this, for example. So now you should never have to ask myself, do I need to shift up, do I need to shift down, or am I good where I'm at? In this video, we'll talk about upshifting. In general, when you upshift, that means you want to increase your speed. Doesn't necessarily mean right now, it can mean in 5 seconds from now. You also want to upshift once you are past the right side of the Goldilocks zone. This is screaming, please shift me up, because remember, you want your RPMs to stay in that range. Don't make upshifting more complicated than it needs to be. If you are above the right side of the Goldilocks zone and you want to increase your speed, just upshift. Upshifting is a very simple process. Pull in the clutch, kick up with your left foot, slowly let back go of the clutch, and apply throttle. And it's very important that you know about the Goldilocks zone. If you haven't seen that yet, go back and check it out. That is a prerequisite to this video. Alright, so we're going to be in first gear. Alright, and notice right now I'm below the Goldilocks zone. Still below. Now I am in the Goldilocks zone. So from here, this is where I want to stay. But now, since I'm going above the Goldilocks zone, clutch in, shift up, slowly let go, and apply throttle at the same time. And notice how I'm back in that Goldilocks zone. And this is exactly how you shift. A super important note if you didn't catch that. When I am outside the Goldilocks zone and I shift up, the RPM should go either in or slightly below that Goldilocks zone. That is the entire purpose of upshifting. You want your RPMs to go down. This example was with first and second gear, but the same thing applies with every other gear. So if you're going from second to third, third to fourth, fourth to fifth, or fifth to sixth, the principle is identical. In this video, you will learn how to downshift. Don't make downshifting more difficult than it needs to be. If you are below the left side of the Goldilocks zone, shift down. If you also want to decrease your speed, also shift down. And if you're definitely below the Goldilocks zone and you want to decrease your speed, definitely shift down. Your first couple times of downshifting will be very rough, and that is okay. Typically, you'll have a jerk motion after you downshift, and that is okay. That happens to everybody. This is a skill that takes time to master. It's also very important that you know of the Goldilocks zone. If you haven't seen that video already, go check it out. That is a prerequisite to this video. You want to downshift when you want to decrease speed or you are below the left side on the Goldilocks zone. So for example here, right now I am way below the Goldilocks zone and my bike is struggling to keep up and stay alive. So here I will want to downshift. So pull in the clutch, kick down, slowly let go and apply throttle at the same time. And there we go. And now I am back in the Goldilocks zone. Same thing again. I am below the Goldilocks zone right now at 22 miles an hour. And if I downshift at 22 miles an hour in second gear, I am now back in the Goldilocks zone. This is exactly how shifting works. So if you made it this far, this means you now know how to ride a motorcycle. And you should pat yourself on the back for this. It's a big achievement. You can now proudly say you can ride a motorcycle. You know how to shift gears, you know how to feather clutch, you know the friction zone, you know how to do U-turns, emergency brake, all these kind of things. Now remember, just because you watched my videos and executed them doesn't mean you are a complete master. There's only so much I can do with these videos, and the majority of it will be real life experience and learning, especially that you will learn on the road and on the street. This series was the very minimum overview of learning how to ride a motorcycle, and I'm pretty sure if you look back at previous comments on these videos, you will see people adding their input as well, which is great, because if I really wanted to do an in-depth series, this would be 4 hours long. Now, I would like to add a couple things before I close this series. One, obviously, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys learned a lot. I try to make this as easy and simple as possible to follow. No BS, nothing, just straight education and tutorials with exercises. I really hope all the diagrams and explanations really helped and multiple point of views because this took a lot of effort to do. And if you haven't tapped on my profile already, my channel is mainly about safety. So if you ever have more questions or thoughts, I might already have a video about it. And if I don't, just send me a DM. I'm all about us learning together because if we are not a community, we are nothing. So guys, welcome to the Riders Club. Be safe, stay visible, and 2 fingers down. I'll see you guys on the road.